Hello and welcome to Catholic Answers Live on this Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Saturday morning, depending on where you are around the globe. We're very happy to have you here with us. I'm Cy Kellett, your host, a bit more relaxed than I was the last 3 days because we did that pledge drive the last 3 days. And I said I would come on the air and tell you how we did that last hour, whether we made that big giant match we had the last hour. And in fact, we did. So it was tough. It was a tough few days, but we made the match every hour. And we did not make the overall match, but we don't know yet quite how, because some folks called and said, I'll send you a check. So we don't know quite how close we are, but it's within a manageable distance. So it sounded probably like we were quite anxious and nervous, and maybe at certain points we were, but it all worked out, and I think there's still a little working out to do, and it will continue to work out. But thank you to everybody who stepped up and helped us and supported us. And really wild at the last few minutes. Lots of people said, I got to help them get that match, and we did. And I think Darren told me it was like in the last minute of the show, like as the music's playing, we met the match. So again, thank you. We're very, very grateful for your support. I know many people prayed for for us during our pledge drive and for the success of our pledge drive. And they can't all be perfect. It's a matter of what's the trend, and that's all still intact and fine. It just was a tough one, and it may have to do with, I know there's more economic uncertainty now than there have been in previous Novembers for a while, I suppose. And but I don't know. The truth is, if you're in this business long enough of asking people to support a nonprofit, you realize just a lot of it's not in your control, and there's very often not an answer to why it went well one time and it went less well another time. The main thing, we're very, very close to being fully funded for the next 3 months. We will work it out between now and the end of the year, and we're very, very grateful for your support. And so we thought, I'll tell you what, let's just do a great show on Friday. Let's just have a great show. Say thanks to everybody. So second hour, Scott Weeman will be here, and we're going to talk about addiction. This hour, pretty much everybody's favorite on Catholic Answers. We hear so many nice... Oh, I was talking about me. But, okay. And also with me, Rose Sweet, the great Rose Sweet. Hi, Rose.
Well, that was very sweet. Thank you. Thank you. Boy, it sounds like that fundraising was like worse than an election.
Well, no, I'm an American. There's nothing worse than an election.
I know.
But it's just, you can feel like there's a headwind on this time. And sometimes there's not, know. And so... It's just one of those things. But in the end, like when you finally see the final number, when the checks come in, everything, it's probably okay. You worry and you fuss and all that, and then it'll definitely be okay by the end of the year, because there are probably people we can turn to, like wealthy people in Palm Springs, friends of ours who live in Palm Springs, who we can say.
Wait. I don't live in Palm Springs. I live in Palm Desert.
Well, we're going to Palm Desert. Hey, if you want to talk with Rose, the number is 888-318-7884. Feels good to just have one number to give out today, 888-318-7884. And we're going to talk, because the second hour is about addiction and recovery. You're actually going to talk about relationship addiction, kind of, this hour.
Yeah, I've noticed that sometimes the guests who are on the other hour, they have a topic that I can nicely fit in some of this.
Yeah.
I take our Catholic principles and I'm able to incorporate it into the personalities and people and relationships.
Like last time, Jimmy was doing weird questions in the hour after you, so you did like weird relationships.
I know.
And all of our relationships are weird at some point.
They are, because we're weird.
Yeah.
Some of us.
You mean people in Palm Desert? You're not talking.
No, some of us are weirder than others.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Or some of us are more frequently weird than others. Maybe not weirder, but we're just more frequently, consistently weird than others.
That is very true.
But today, so tell me about what you want to talk with folks about today and what they can call and ask you about.
Well, this is something very near and dear to my heart, because I love relationships. When I was a little girl, I loved people, and I wondered what made people tick, and I wondered why some people didn't like me and some others did. No, seriously.
Yeah,
you observe
like,
that.
That's interesting.
And it was like, is it something with me? Is it them? So I really screwed up relationships pretty royally in my youth. And some of your listeners know I've gone through divorce, and I fell flat on my face at one point, and I did cry out to the Lord and say, Help me get this right. Help me get this whole relationship thing right. And lo and behold, it wasn't in a self-help book, as good as those can be.
Right.
It was in the teachings of the church. It was in the words of Christ. Everything that we really do want to know. And doesn't that kill you?
It's just amazing how often a Christian person goes, oh, the answers were in Christianity.
Right.
Christ had the answers.
Right.
Like, we do that all the time.
Right, right. He knew, not only did he know us and know our heart, he made us.
Yeah.
So I love, incorporating what you at Catholic Answers do so well and have done for so many decades now is present the truth and preserve the truth so that people like me and my work can take those principles and that truth and help people apply it to their relationships and other areas of their life.
If you want to talk with Rose, 888-318-7884, 888-318-7884. And okay, so Rose, you have some principles to share with us that you draw from our Catholic tradition about avoiding being addictive in relationships?
Yes, I realize that some people don't have relationships in right order. I know I didn't. I had relationships were the most important thing to me, and I would call out to God when they weren't going well and ask him to fix the other person, fix the relationship, or even fix me and bless it so then I would be happy, right?
Yeah.
And I had it in wrong order. He's the number one relationship. He is the one who loves me perfectly and completely, and I'll go to my deathbed really never fully understanding how loved I am by him. And when that began to dawn on me that I needed to turn that back in right order, and he comes first in my will, and then in my emotions, and then in my actions, and then that way I can properly put all the other relationships in right order. My husband, my kids, my friends, my employers, my coworkers. I had it all backwards. And addictive is like, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty,
Right.
I gotta have, and I gotta fill, and here's the cycle, and then I feel good, and then I feel guilty. And then I feel hungry again, and I want more, and I just keep going and going and going. And so what we're trying to do in addictive relationships is we're trying to fill that hunger for the divine with the temporal.
I gotcha. Okay, so the hunger is not the problem.
No, hunger's good.
See, this is something that I think, to be quite frank, a lot of people who espouse what they will call a Buddhist kind of philosophy of life, they will say that the hunger itself is wrong. And I think, no, you're wrong about that. I don't know what the Buddha had to say about it, but what you're saying about it is wrong. The hunger is not the problem. The desire is not the problem.
No, we're a religion of desire because we have a God of desire. He desires us. We desire him. Desires are good. But when they're out of order, or we go to satisfy those desires on our own terms, that's when we get into trouble. And, Adam and Eve turned away from the very best for a lower good.
Right.
And that's what I did in relationships. That's what a lot of us do. And I do Catholic coaching, and I'm shocked, but not shocked anymore. This is the number one problem that I deal with. My clients are usually middle age, and they're really attached to their children. Doesn't matter what their age is, or even if they're married and out of the house, because their marriage is not satisfying anymore, or their job isn't satisfying, or something isn't. So now it's going to be the kids. Okay, I'm going to feel good. I'm going to be with the kids and be with the grandkids and do this, and it's like, but they never call me, and they didn't invite me, and sometimes they're not nice to me, and then we lose our serenity, and then we get we have anxiety, and now we're in an addictive pattern where we're going to manipulate, and we're going to play games to get the relationships the way we want.
Yeah. Okay. Again, 888-318-7884. Oh, man, time flies when you're here, Rose. I got to read an ad now. But
okay, good.
Hey, if you want to call, we'd love to talk with you. We're talking about addiction to relationship or addictive type behavior in relationships. And you are welcome to call. More from Rose, but also folks on the line and a few lines open. 888-318-7884. Flash Friday sale right now. Flash Friday sale. We have a saying at the School of Apologetics: a faith you can defend is a faith you can own and embrace. And right now we're making it easier than ever to jump into the School of Apologetics. Today only, we're offering our best prices of the year, $40 for a full course. That really is the best price. I read these ads all the time. $40 for a full course and $20 for a mini course. But act now. The offer expires at 6 p.m. tonight. And that, wherever you are, that's 3 hours from now. All right? The offer expires 3 hours from now. So rush on over. Sign up. Get one. Get two. Get them all. The Catholic Answers School of Apologetics. Just go to shop.catholic.com.
Catch Catholic Answers live anytime at Catholic.com.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects home buyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
Are you a coffee drinker? If so, you can now enjoy a coffee roasted to perfection by the Carmelite monks of Wyoming. Delicious Mystic Monk coffee is roasted and prepared by monks in a hidden cloistered monastery and is available in over 25 varieties. All Mystic Monk coffees are works of perfection and labors of love. For more information on how to purchase Mystic Monk coffee, visit mysticmonkcoffee.com. That's mysticmonkcoffee.com.
Check out EWTN's official YouTube channel.
Just follow the link on our homepage at EWTN.com or go to YouTube.com/EWTN.
Watch EWTN's live shows or today's homily from the Daily Mass.
Click the upload button to see our most recent clips.
You can also find all of EWTN YouTube content by clicking the playlist button.
It's all on the official EWTN YouTube channel at YouTube.com/EWTN.
Visit today.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Rose Sweet in studio with us next hour. Scott Weeman. We'll talk about addiction and recovery next hour. We're talking about addiction in relationships this hour. And if that's something you face, something you'd like to talk about, something you'd like a Catholic perspective on, you are welcome to call 888-318-7884. And of course, you don't have to be Catholic to call. Anybody can call 888-318-7884. 7884. So callers, I'm going to get to you. I'm going to ask you to hang on a quick minute, though, because Rose came with notes. So what else did you want to tell us, Rose, before we go to the callers?
Okay, I love going to Scripture to read the stories about people in relationships, right? And Jesus was there, so it's like there's great wisdom there. So think about the rich young man who went to Jesus and he said, how do I get eternal life? And you and I have talked about this before.
Right.
And Jesus said, follow the law. He said, I do, pretty much. And then Jesus said, now all those things that you're really, really attached to, let them go and make me number one. That's my interpretation, right?
Yeah, you're paraphrasing what
right,
you said,
okay.
But yeah, that's a good paraphrase.
So there's what the Catholic Church has always taught about inordinate attachments. We attach ourselves to things that are good, but inordinately, too much attachment, or in wrong order. So the rich young man didn't want to let go. We have relationships that we do not want to let go of. Bad relationships, unhealthy relationships, or if it's not the relationship that we let go, it's the way we maneuver in them that we have to let go. It's our fears that keep us manipulating, whining, crying, demanding.
Oh, you've been to my house, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Poor
Rose.
Missy. Poor Missy.
No, I'm talking about me.
Or just all the ways we use people in like the blame game and the guilt trips and all that. Oh my goodness, it's insane. So those are signs that we're too inordinately attached to how we want those relationships to be.
Right.
So the other thing is, Jesus said in Luke, Jesus said, you have to hate your family.
Yeah, I noticed that one.
Hang on. I have a really good book here I wanted to quote from.
Rose.
I don't know if anybody can see this book, but...
they're putting the camera on it. That's a Teacher of Strange Things.
A Teacher of Strange Things by you. And I love this.
By you.
And I love this quote in here. With the words of Jesus, follow me, Matthew's entire world shifts. He sees now that he has not understood the kingdom of God at all.
Now
So-
that I know where that's in the chapter about the call of St. Matthew.
Okay, so when Jesus says, put me first,
Yeah.
not your relationships, even though they're good, we haven't understood we haven't understood the kingdom of God yet.
Right.
And I didn't. But getting deeper into Scripture and through all the beautiful wisdom of the teachings of the church, the light went on, and I was able, with God's grace, to turn things around.
Yeah. Okay. So that it seems like, Rose, part of what you're saying, because you list all these problems that we have, the whining and the manipulating and it's not a matter of just solve those problems one by one. There's a core central problem, which is you've got the wrong thing in the center of your life.
Right. And it's the way you're thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
And, St. Paul said, be transformed by the renewing of not your heart,
No, mind.
your mind, the way you think. God is the one who really loves me. He has everything I need. And what I think I need that I'm not getting, in the big scheme, it's okay because I have him. And everything's going to be okay. And in a certain sense, nothing else matters. It does matter, but it doesn't matter.
I gotcha.
Yes, it's the core.
That's the title of a Metallica song, too. Nothing else matters. 888-318-7884, our number. I'm going to let at least one caller start talking with you.
Okay,
then
great.
you can go through the rest of your notes if you
Great.
want. Excellent choice of a book to quote from, though.
A Teacher of Strange Things. I heard that it's sold about 6 copies already.
So I think we're way past that. I think we're into double digits.
Okay, good.
So just knock it off, Rose.
Okay,
sweet.
I will.
Let's go to Win in Rochester, New York, listening on 1460 AM. Win, we're so happy to have you. Go ahead with your question for Rose.
Yes. I look sometimes to patron saints,
Okay.
along with the Holy Trinity and the Holy Family. And I was wondering, besides Saint Valentine, is there one that is a kind of a patron saint besides the Holy Trinity and the Holy Family that kind of watches over relationships?
Okay, I like how you eliminated not the Holy Trinity, not the Holy Family, not St. Valentine. Is there a patron saint of
Well,
relationships?
thanks, because when I was going to say St. Joseph, and it's just simply because look who he lived with. And he had the best example of healthy relationships, and he was a father to a son, and he had to raise, when it says, Scripture says, Jesus grew in wisdom and grace, I'm sure St. Joseph was a big part of appropriately fathering him, guiding him, listening to him, not shaming, guilting, manipulating, walking all over him. So that's a great question. I've never really thought about it. I love St. Joseph, but is there somebody that you're thinking of?
Your answer is excellent, because let's put it this way. How many men today, if their fiancé or wife came up and said, an angel appeared to me today, and told me I was going to be pregnant, and I was going to have the Son of God. And, what did you have to drink with your lunch?
Right.
But it shows the love of St. Patrick. And so I do thank you for bringing that forward.
I'm going to add one more if I can, Win.
A saint?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I love reading the story of a soul, St. Teresa of Lisieux. And she, in the convent, there was a sister in that convent that drove her insane. And they probably drove each other insane. And
It's got to be hard to drive a saint insane, though.
Well, no, that's why they're
what kind of behavior
saints.
is that?
Because,
Yeah, I guess so.
No, because they feel like killing you, but they rise above that feeling, right?
I might be a saint then.
Well,
sorry,
I know.
Rose.
No, I
Go
know.
ahead.
That's my point exactly.
Yeah.
They rise above the natural feeling to live out of their will and out of these principles that we're talking about.
Right.
Do you agree, Win?
Hang on, Win. I put you on hold. Go ahead. Do you agree with that, Win?
What was the name again?
Oh, Saint Therese of Lisieux.
The little
Lisieux.
flower.
Lisieux.
Yes.
Right,
And the little flower.
Yeah. Yeah, and she was a very romantic writer, too. I mean, she didn't, like you think, well, had she devoted herself to, like, a relation, like a normal relation. I don't mean normal, but a typical relationship with a man and children and all that. How loving and kind she would have been, because she was very romantic in her language and very.
Yes, and at the same time...
But tough as nails.
Yes, and at the same time, if you read about her childhood, her mother writes extensively about the little tantrums that she threw.
Oh, yeah.
And she
right.
was very picky, and she struggled with those normal feelings that we struggle when relationships aren't, or life isn't going the way we want. And yet, with wisdom and grace, she rose above that and lived from a principle-centered life, not a people-centered life.
That's a very interesting way to put it. I want to give out the number again of 888-318-7884. Rose Sweet, our guest this hour. We're talking about applying some Catholic principles to our addictive habits in relationships, the way we sometimes become too dependent on others. We become needy. We become manipulative. We become grumpy. And that's just me before my...
Coffee? Before your coffee? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's a Diet Coke, but my first Diet Coke in the morning. And so if you got problems in that area or just want some help in that area, 888-318-7884. I think something that you have said a couple times here, Rose, is actually very unpopular today. And that is living out of your will and not out of your feelings, because we're all supposed to be dealing with our feelings all the time, and my feelings matter. And the primary task of communication is to make your feelings known to others so that they won't hurt them. And that is not at all a Christian way of looking at the world.
No, it's very, very selfish, and it's also very childish. As children, that's how we behave. You hurt me. I don't like that. So what we've done is prolong childhood and resisted, growing up. So here's something that really helped me. I grew up in a family. I'm the oldest of 9. I think I've told you this before. And down the road, eventually, my poor mom started drinking, and she became alcoholic. And so as a young adult, I went to 12-step groups. I discovered Al-Anon and ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics. And I began to learn about the 12-step programs and the great wisdom that they have, and it's all drawn from Catholic theology. It's started in part by a Catholic priest.
Yeah.
And I love the Serenity Prayer. Do you know the Serenity Prayer?
Lord, grant me the serenity. That's it. That's as far as I can go.
I want your version. Let me give your ideal version.
No, I'm not going to.
Come on.
No, I made up a fake Serenity Prayer before the show, because I said, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept what I can't accept and the courage to kill what bothers me.
Right.
And that's not a real prayer. I'm not actually praying that.
No, it's not.
Well, I don't know why you made me say that on the air.
Because it's
I say
Friday.
these things to you, Rose.
No, because it's Friday and you want a little levity in this otherwise heavy topic.
Okay,
right?
all right. Well, give me the real Serenity Prayer and how it works.
God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Now hold that right there.
Oh, cannot change. Yeah, right. Okay.
Hold that right there. I want my son to call me more. I want my daughter to visit me more. I want to see the grandkids more. I want my husband to do this more. I wish I could change all those people, right? So, and while they're not behaving the way I need and want, I've lost my serenity.
Right. Yes.
And that's when you're not serene, you're on the verge of addictive behavior, because now you're getting anxious and antsy, whether even though you may be cool, calm, and collected on the outside, but inside you're churning.
Right.
And then you become bitter and all kinds of things. So grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and that's usually starting with my own attitude.
Right. There's a lot that I can control, but it almost all has to do with what goes on inside my own skin.
And that's the hardest part.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. And then the wisdom to know the difference.
So no killing in your version of the Serenity Prayer.
Well, no. If somebody's going to come after my kids and they're going to kill my kids, I'm going to kill them first.
All right, okay. All right, Tim Staples.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. That's what I love about this, okay? So this is a basic prayer that we got from the 12-step program, and it's richly Catholic, and it is very easy to memorize. It's good to draw on and to pray, and it's hard to live without God's grace.
Yeah.
Do I have time for a story, or are we coming up on a break?
You have only 30 seconds for a story. Is it longer than that?
Yes, I want to
And we
tell
got
you a
callers.
really good...
You know, we do have callers.
Okay.
All right, you'll tell me a good story.
Yes.
888-318-7884 is the number. It's not going to be about Cinderella, is it? Remember the time you did the Cinderella
Yes,
thing?
no, you have to pay me to say that again.
Can you do it? Can you still do it?
Of course I can.
Who's the guy that originally did it? What's his name? There was a...
He was on Hee Haw is where I saw it.
Yeah, and then you memorize the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
888-318. Just type in Hee Haw Cinderella.
Rindersella.
And you'll see this whole routine that Rose does. But you won't see Rose do it. You'll see the guy who originally did it. 888-318-7884, our number. Callers, we are going to get to you after Rose tells us a story. We're talking about addictive relationships and the Catholic approach to overcoming that addictiveness. More after this.
Have you enrolled in the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics? Let me ask you a more important question. Do you believe as a Catholic that you have an obligation to share the Catholic faith? In fact, the Church has answered this question, and the answer is that all confirmed Catholics are obliged to share the faith. It's actually in canon law. Catholic Answers is here to help you fulfill that obligation. Our School of Apologetics courses will equip you to help all the people you come in contact with understand what the Church teaches and why. A great place to start is with all the Catholics in your life. Learn the art of apologetics from the best of the best and start sharing the gospel today. Visit schoolofapologetics.com. That's schoolofapologetics.com. Here's a question. Is it really possible to be friends with someone who died 2,000 years ago? Maybe the problem is that we've grown way too comfortable with the story of Jesus. Nice man, right? Taught us to love one another, said not to judge people. We celebrate his birthday every year. It's time to put away this small, safe version of Jesus, says Cy Kellett. Nobody that bland could have transformed the world. In A Teacher of Strange Things, Cy presents Jesus Christ undiluted by sentiment, with all his radical words and deeds uncensored. Do you know someone, your son or daughter perhaps, or maybe your mom or dad, who needs the friendship of Jesus Christ? Do you? Order your copy of A Teacher of Strange Things by visiting shop.catholic.com today or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you.
Did you know you can access Catholic Answers Live right from your phone or other mobile device? Download the Catholic Answers Live app today. The Catholic Answers Live app, available now on iOS and Android.
Welcome back. Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. Rose Sweet, who I have to tell you this. There is nobody else who walks into the building and gets the greeting you get when you come here.
Oh, you're so sweet.
It makes me feel terrible.
Why?
Just to see how much everybody loves you. They're all.
It's because I love you guys. That's why.
Really?
Yes, I do love you guys.
Oh my gosh, the hugs and the screeching and all the stuff that happens when. It's the screeching. I don't screech. I don't want anyone to think I screech.
Okay, girls screech.
Yeah. Again, 888-318-7884, the number. MJ in Nebraska. We're coming to you in a quick second, but Rose is going to tell us a story, and then we're going to get to your call.
This is a true story. Okay, and we're talking about the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Father John Hampsch is a Claretian priest. I think he's still alive, but he's very old. And he was out in the Palm Springs area in the early 1970s. And he traveled and he wrote books and he spoke for a living. That's how he generated income for his order. And his main message was about serenity, about peace. And he said there's two kinds of peace, Cy. There's peace with God that Jesus won for us on the cross, peace with God. And then there's the peace of God that we have inside us when we get everything right.
Oh, what an interesting conception. Yeah.
And he said a lot of us have peace with God because of Christ, but we don't have the peace of God. We're churning, we're anxious, we're addicted, right?
That's very well said.
It
yes.
was beautiful. So then one night he's in Palm Springs, and my brother witnessed this. I wasn't there. And it was at a Catholic basement in a church, and there was like no coffee. And so he at the break, he wanted coffee. So he went in, he was poking around in the church building, and he sees a room with a little red light at the end, those old percolator coffee pots.
Oh, yeah, right.
So he sees some kind of dimly in the dark, he sees the cups, and he pours, and he starts drinking the coffee down, and it was lye.
Oh, no. Oh, I don't like this story.
No, I know. The cleaning ladies have left the lye and soaking in the coffee pot.
Oh, gosh.
And they rushed him to the Palm Springs Hospital, and he was on the gurney, and he heard the doctor say, "This man will never speak again. He's fried his vocal cords." Father tells the story of being on that gurney and being filled with anxiety and fear and panic, and then all of a sudden he recognized that. This is what he talks about. And he surrendered all to the Lord, and he said, "I have you. I don't need anything else. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter." And he felt a warm feeling from the top of his head go down his entire body.
Oh.
And he sat up and put his shoes on and started to walk out. And the doctor goes, "Where are you going?" And he goes, "I'm perfectly fine." There was not a sign of any damage to his throat or his vocal cords. Instant healing, true story.
Wow, and it's just so beautiful because it's an affirmation of the message he'd been giving everyone else.
Yes.
It's like the Lord saying, "Yes,
yes."
That's the
and
message.
Here it is.
Right.
Peace. Accept the things that you can't change.
Right.
Have serenity. Let go. Don't be addicted. Don't be over-attached. Remember the big picture.
MJ in Nebraska, thank you very much for waiting. Of course, if you're listening in Nebraska, you're listening on Spirit Catholic Radio. MJ, go ahead with your question for Rose Sweet.
Yes, I have a large extended family, and there's members of the family that are not getting along, and it's driving a wedge, I guess, in our family. Many of us are stuck in the middle and between the parties, and we just don't know what to do because they're both, not willing to come together and try to figure things out. And as one of the persons in the middle, it's very difficult to maneuver. Especially now the holidays are coming up, and it's going to be even harder.
You're probably the only family facing this.
This is universal. MJ, here's what I always look to Christ. What did Jesus do? He invited people to make amends. He invited people to talk it out and get together. And if they don't want to, Jesus never crammed reconciliation down anybody's throat. We really don't see that ever. That's the terrible gift of free will. So and I have a large extended family as well, too, and I have some of those people in my family. And I used to try to want to run in there and fix it and talk to this one and talk to this one and try to make it happen because I didn't like the stress. I didn't like everybody not getting along. And it made me uncomfortable. But what I realized what I was doing was just swallowing the poison that was going back between the two of them. So my stance now is I'll say it would be wonderful if you guys could work it out. How can I help? So then I make an offer. No, you can't help, blah, 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 blah. And then you go, okay, fine. Now you've done your duty. Your responsibility to be loving and be available has been extended. But you're not ultimately responsible for what goes on between those two people. And again, we don't even have all the inside information between both of those people to like a professional therapist who might spend 6 months trying to figure out the real root of the problem. So what I do now is just you invite them to the family party. And if they don't want to come, they don't come. You don't beg, you don't plead, you don't gossip. You just accept the things you cannot change and love them anyway. And love them. And if they don't show up at the family Christmas party, you go out to dinner with them in a few weeks. Or you continue your relationship with them, but you don't have to fix everybody else's You can't fix everybody else's relationship. You agree?
Yeah, you're right.
So what's the most uncomfortable part of this for you, MJ?
Well, actually, it's seeing my parents go through it.
Oh, because your parents love them all, and then they have to live through all of this dissension. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I think about this a lot. You have a deep hunger for the communion of saints. Here we are with our Catholic apologetics again. We were made for the communion of saints, and when we're all getting along, we have a little foretaste of that, and it tastes good. But we don't have the power to sustain it because there are other people involved with free will, and so it's a sorrow, it's a grief. Be as available as you can appropriately without getting in the middle, and then offer your sorrow up to the Lord and unite it with His suffering. Look! He was looking down at the cross at all of us not getting along.
Right.
So He knows this. Just keep loving Him, MJ.
Okay.
Okay.
God bless you, MJ. Thank you very, very much for the call. And I kind of joke with them. It's only your family, but it is hard stuff. The holidays. I don't know, and now that we've had the COVID, and families they disagree with one another about the COVID, and half the family says everybody wear a mask, and half the family says don't. It just, it's very, it's tough times. It's very tough.
And this is more than ever, we need to be drawing on the principles of our faith that we were made for heaven.
Yeah.
And wanting everything ideal here on earth is a good desire, but it's not always going to happen. We can't always change those things. Sometimes we don't have the responsibility. Sometimes we need to step way, way back and actually get out of God's way.
Yeah.
And that's where the wisdom to know the difference is.
Well, I always decide, I have 6 brothers and sisters, and when the whole family gets together, I make a decision in my heart that I'm going just to be kind to everyone. And I'm going to do my part. And then I go there on the same jerk I always was with all of them. I never fulfill.
No, don't say never. Don't.
Well, I rarely fulfill. I make a decision, a firm decision, that I will be the one that will be at peace with everyone, and I'll be like as helpful as I can be, as kind as I can be. And then somebody says something, and I'm just the same rotten thing I was when they were kids.
You're not rotten. Don't do that. Don't put yourself down. Let me do that.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Rose. I didn't mean to take your job away from you.
Okay, thank you. No, you know what? Somebody triggers a deep desire you have.
Oh, yeah, that's probably right.
You would want them to have better political stance. You want them to be holier. You want them. You want all these good things for all these people you love.
Yeah.
And you realize, oh, I'm not going to have the things that I want for him, her. And then that triggers anxiety in you. Yeah. And that's when you lose your little serenity person, right?
It is my little serenity person, yeah. All right, we got to take a break, but call with your questions for Rose. We're talking about this Catholic approach to relationships, and what does it do to our addictive nature, or how can it be helpful to our addictive nature, our neediness, our inability sometimes to be who we want to be in relationships, or to make other people be who we want them to be in relationships. Your call, as I said, very, very welcome. 888-318-7884, 888-31-TRUTH. Don't forget, we got that free ebook for you, Biblical Answers to Protestant Objections at shop.catholic.com. When we say free ebook, it's free. You just go over to shop.catholic.com, download it, and dig it. Shop.catholic.com.
This is Archbishop Paul Coakley, the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City, and you're listening to Catholic Answers Live.
Do you love praying for people? Have you ever wanted to use your gift of prayer to share Jesus with others and build up the body of Christ? Start a public prayer station with St. Paul Street Evangelization. Listen to people's needs, pray with them, or invite them to meet you at church. St. Paul Street Evangelization can help you get started. Find out how at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
He was a Jesuit, a cardinal, and a doctor of the Church.
Matthew Bunson and the Doctors of the Church.
St. Robert Bellarmine is honored for his immense contributions to theology, including helping to draft 2 important catechisms that defended church teachings during the Protestant Revolt. Pope Clement VIII named Bellarmine a cardinal because, as the Pope put it, Bellarmine had not his equal for learning.
For more about the Doctors of the Church, visit doctorsofthechurch.com.
All right. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. We just like to have nice conversations on Fridays. It's so nice when Scott Weeman comes in here. Rose, you always come into the studio with us. It's always nice when you come, get to have these conversations. You're welcome to get in on the conversation if you want. The number is 888-318-7884. We're talking about relationships, as we always do with Rose, who's a certified life coach.
Nope. Certified Catholic life coach.
Certified, so you can help me to live a Catholic life.
Right, because I draw on Catholic principles.
Yes.
Catholic philosophy.
And you also have a series of books that are like tiny little gifts, like the tiny little treats is what they are. They look good. They feel good in your hand.
Oh,
it's
that's
like
good.
I like the whole way those books are. Tell us the name of some of those.
Thank you. Okay, so they're with 10 books. It's
Yeah.
a Catholic Woman's Guide to Happiness.
Yeah.
And then a Catholic Woman's Guide to Relationships. And a Catholic Woman's Guide to Romance. And you could buy them in a little set and give them to somebody for Christmas.
Oh, that's a very nice
Did you buy all those yet for Missy?
I think you gave me one of them.
Wait, you did not answer my question.
No, I think I bought 2 of them, but I didn't buy one of them. I didn't buy.
Okay,
no,
I'm gonna send it to you.
No, I have it. You gave it to me
What
already.
about the third one?
No, that's what I'm saying, Rose. I think I bought 2 of them, but I have all 3. I just didn't buy it.
Okay.
Did you? Was that math really complicated for you?
Yes, I was never very good at math.
All right.
Okay.
They look good on the bedstand, like the sitting next to the bed. They look good. Like Tan made nice little treats out of these books.
They did. They're really pretty. They're little tiny hardcover books, and they are perfect for gift. When we were talking about that earlier, they're not real long.
No.
And they seem light, but they have depth because our Catholic faith is just a treasure chest of riches.
The number 888-318-7884. But and I'll go to this caller. But you wanted to say something else before we went back?
You know, we're talking about the Serenity Prayer and being helpful in relationships. And God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and then the courage to change the things I can. This is a lot of my work in my coaching is helping people come up with a new way to be in relationship with somebody who drives them crazy. You know, I have family members who say, I'm not coming for Christmas because so-and-so will be there. So they don't know how to be in a room, much less a relationship with somebody. Mm-hmm. So they just cut it completely off. That's safer to them. And remember in the early 80s, it was, you're toxic.
Oh, but the people still say that all the time. Toxic relationships, toxic people, all that.
Yeah. Get over it. You know, wash it like lettuce under the sink and move on, right?
Yeah, I don't remember Jesus going, I'm sorry, you're toxic.
Right.
Mr. Pilate.
Exactly.
You're really being toxic right now. Mr. Pilate.
I know. You're not listening to me.
No, Mr. Caiaphas.
Exactly.
Or Father Caiaphas. I don't know what they call a Jewish
That's
priest,
your next book. Jesus was not a snowflake.
He wasn't a snowflake.
No,
he was tough.
I like that.
Yeah, all right. So go. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Okay, now what were we saying? Oh, okay. So rather than just cutting somebody off and saying, I'm not going there, I'm not going to do that, and that is appropriate for some relationships.
Oh, sure. Yes. Especially ones that have been abusive.
Right, before you cut that off, see if you can find another way to rise above your emotions, live out of your will, draw on the principles, memorize the Serenity Prayer, and go to that party, go to that function, be in the room with that person, and know how to not get sucked in and be triggered. Like you admitted, you get triggered. I get triggered too.
Yeah. I have 3 sisters, though. 888-318-7884.
That was a manipulative little dig at the very end. Did everybody notice
I'm sorry.
that? No, you're not sorry.
I am sorry about that.
Okay.
I am. But not to one of them. But I'm Pat in Pennsylvania watching on Facebook. Go ahead with your question for Rose. Pat?
Hi, Pat.
Line 1, Pat? No? I feel sad because I really wanted to talk to Pat, and it says Pat's on line 1, and you haven't potted up?
Hello.
Oh, hey, Pat. All right. Well, everything's okay now. Go ahead.
Okay.
Had to put the phone down for a minute, but we're glad to have you back. I hope that cheesesteak was worth it. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, I have a 12-step background. I am Catholic. I came back to the church about maybe 10 years ago. 2 children, grown in their mid-40s. I'm the youngest of 10, by the way.
Wow.
So my daughter has cut off completely communication. And I'm in the midst of a Bible study, this Bible in a Year, and I'm growing. I'm not perfect. So that's, it's difficult. And yet I'm growing through it, and I have realized in a very real way that I put my children, I think a bit of an addictive relationship with both of them. And so the last several months I've been dealing with that in conjunction with my daughter withdrawing totally. Of course, now my son, it's all on him, right? And he's so sweet and just trying to be supportive. It's hard for him, too. So, I'm just trying to think that this is what she needs to do to push away from me. I guess I used a little picture that came to me the other day when I was talking to my son, that it's like she's pushing me in the river. And I'm just, I know how to swim. But
wow.
I think she's always been from the time she was a baby, just very compliant. And she never pushed, but her brother did. So I think I found a middle of the road. My question is to you, now that I've gone on, I don't want to freeze my emotions. I came from a very dysfunctional home myself, and I think I did a pretty good job with my kids considering my background of the kind of home I had. I have relationships with my siblings that are, a lot of them I've had to let them know I put God first, not them. It's almost like I'm breaking the rules by doing that. So I'll be quiet now and listen.
Pat, God bless you. I hear the passion in your voice. You know what? What I did is I put God first in my head, but he wasn't first in my passions and my emotions. And I hadn't yet reconciled my desires for good things and good relationships with the people that I love and cared about. And I would say if you were me and I was talking to myself, I would say, go spend more time with Jesus. Don't worry about your kids right now. Go sit in front of the Blessed Sacrament. Go outside on your porch with a hot cup of coffee or tea and just sit with the Lord and ask him to be with you. Go watch a really great Jesus movie that you like. Whatever gets you most emotionally, because that's where our healing has to come from. Ask the Lord to help heal your emotions. When you do that and you're thinking more about him and allowing him to fill you up, you're going to be less hungry for getting what you need from your kids. Does that make sense?
I feel that I'm growing in that way. What I want to do is find a balance, because I think family connections are really important. And I've been withdrawn for many, many years from family. So by moving close to my daughter, because they asked me, come on, you're getting older. So now I'm 7 minutes away. So over the last 3 years, we've drawn close, and then suddenly this has happened. So I want to affirm that I value family relationships. Okay. I want to find the middle ground.
Okay, so start with Jesus. Start with, in your prayer life, say, help me to desire you more than anything ever. And it's going to be a process, and just trust him. But when it comes to your daughter, this is the hardest thing to do, is to just listen to people. If somebody has cut you off, right or wrong, they somehow feel that you don't get them, that you don't understand them, and that you're not listening to them. Now, I don't know the details, but I've been guilty of that too. So one of the things I had to learn to do is be a good listener. And when somebody's talking to you, you don't comment, you don't make excuses, you don't explain, you don't defend, you don't do anything. You just listen and say, wow, okay. That's a good beginning. And ask her, what's going on? I would like to listen, and I promise I won't say anything. Oh, sure, Mom. You say that now, but try that with your daughter, and then really don't say anything. Just listen and just love her. And if something does come up and she feels open enough to say, well, you hurt me this or you didn't do that, just ask for forgiveness, whether you understand it or not. Because if that relationship is that important, it doesn't matter who's right in a certain sense at that moment. You want to reestablish that you are a safe place for her to come and say what she really thinks and feels without judgment, criticism, correction. Does that make sense? I guess.
Did we lose Pat?
We might have lost Pat again.
We don't know.
Okay.
Wait, hang on. Wait. Pat, are you there with us?
I am.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Did that make sense? What Rose said?
Yes, it's been 5 months, and I do respect her pushing away. I'm not the only person she's doing this with. She's done this with her very best friend. I just found that out. I thought I was the only one. So I hear what you're saying. I have been a good listener. I've been in Al-Anon and ACOA for many years. I know how to listen, even though I might not be demonstrating it right now. I'm trying to make sure I don't freeze my feelings. That's where the conundrum is for me. I'm trying to be detached and not, keep falling out, because I came here 3 years ago and I've been relating to this little family that's now withdrawn totally.
Okay, yeah. It is painful. It is very painful. But just keep, you know what, Pat, just get up every morning and keep doing what you're doing. You have the tools you need. You have the information you need. You have God's grace. Just keep doing your best and give her time and space. Look at St. Monica. We always hear that story. God, thank God we have her to draw on. 25 years or more she waited for her son to come around. That's painful. So you might have to imagine your life. Maybe she won't reach out to you for another year. That would be very difficult. But don't be afraid to go to those darkest, weirdest places and ask God to go with you in those. And take a deep breath and let him fill you up with him. I'm telling you, that's the answer. Pat?
Yes.
Are you there?
I am.
Okay,
I got this far.
Okay.
I got this far with God's grace.
Praise God.
God's grace has seen me this far, yes.
Okay, keep going. Keep going, girl. You can do this.
Yes.
Yes, you can. God bless you.
Thank you, Pat. I really, really appreciate your call. It's so much. It's so nice to have you here, Rose. It's really good to have you here on a Friday.
Thank you.
Especially a Friday when it's been kind of a hard week. It's nice to have you around.
Thank you. I love being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want to talk about that book you recommended earlier before we have to go, or did you?
You mean this really long book, A Teacher of Strange Things?
It's not long.
No, it's over 200 pages, but you know what? Every page has a lot of wisdom.
There you go.
And there's big space in between the lines,
I like
too.
the way you're talking now, Rose. Wonder what that book costs. I bet it's on sale over at shop.catholic.com.
Is it? How much does it cost?
I don't know, but probably cheaper than you paid.
Oh, you sent
Wait,
this to me.
that's a free book.
It
No,
is.
I sent
You
that
sent
to
this to me.
I
Thank
did
you.
not send it to you. I sent it to your neighbor. Remember, I sent it to the wrong address and you had to go get
right.
it?
That's right. That's right.
Sorry about that, Rose.
That's okay. I still love you.
I'm glad you went and picked it up. Rose Sweet, you can find her at rosesweet.com, and that really is her name, Rose Sweet. That was her name from the time she was a little baby. So that's not just a stage name.
I know, but I have to live up to it, and sometimes it's really hard.
But you do, Rose, and that's why they screech when you come into the building. Scott Weeman's here next. We're going to talk about addiction and recovery from a Catholic perspective, and that is always a great way to wrap up the week. A nice conversation with Scott Weeman. Rose, thanks. I really do appreciate it.
Love you.
It's great that I love you too, Rose.
See you
we
later.
all do here.
See you later,
Every
alligator.
single person does here. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Don't forget to get that book that Rose recommended. What was it again? What was the name of that book?
A Catholic Woman's Guide to Happiness
That's
by
not the
Rose
book that you
Sweet.
read. No, that's not. Rose,
Okay, A
thank-
Teacher of Strange
There we
Things
go.
by Cy Keller.
All right, right back after this. Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I'm Cy Kellett, your host. A little bit tired from a strenuous week around here, but so happy. Rose Sweet and Scott Weeman in one day. Are you kidding me? Scott Weeman, of course, is the author of The 12 Steps and the Sacraments, A Catholic Journey Through Recovery. He's also the founder of a wonderful organization called Catholic in Recovery. But I used to just call it Catholic in Recovery, but I can't do that anymore. I got to call it the award-winning Catholic in Recovery. Hello, Scott Weeman.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hey, first of all, let me just give people the number. If you want to talk about addiction and recovery, you want to get the Catholic perspective on that from someone who has lived it and lives it every day, you are welcome to call 888-318-7884. If it's about yourself, it's about a relative, it's about someone you love, it's about a situation that you'd like help with, 888-318-7884. Congratulations on being an award-winning apostolate of the Catholic Church.
Thank you.
Now tell us about it. Tell us about what happened.
Yeah, so Cy is referring to the OSV Challenge. This OSV Challenge, when I was on here last, I think it was
Our Sunday Visitor, just so people know.
Yep, Our Sunday Visitor Institute, the giving branch of Our Sunday Visitor. This is the second year that they've put together the OSV Challenge, which awards 3 organizations, Catholic organizations, with a $100,000 grand prize to advance their apostolate. So we were one of 600 that began. We were whittled down. Ultimately, 24 groups went through a 6-week accelerator that was partnered by, and the OSV partnered with the University of St. Thomas in Houston. So we got a lot of great business development and growth. Of those 24, 12 were chosen as finalists. We put together a little pitch video and then competed in, we'll call it Catholic-like Shark Tank.
Shark Tank, yeah, you did Catholic Shark Tank.
That's right. So we did a pre-recorded video. It was supposed to be in person, but pandemic went virtual. So pre-recorded video and then Q&A, which was, it was a lot of fun. Full day, ready for whatever questions were going to be asked. And but the whole process, whether we were winners or not, easy to say as a winner now, by the way. But the whole process, whether we were winners or not, were incredibly valuable.
But you said that before. I know that when you had gone, I remember talking with you when you had gone through some of the accelerator stuff, and you didn't know at all whether you were going to win a prize. You said that it was very helpful to you as a ministry.
Yeah, because, I didn't start this with some great business acumen, and, I'm a business leader, and I see a need and a market need, whatever it is.
Right.
I started Catholic in Recovery out of my own experience, strength, and hope, and seeing, a need that I had, and certainly that others had.
Right.
And so it doesn't, I've got enough, I guess, a jack of all trades, enough background, but, this gave a lot of business development to take the mission, to take a really good purpose and clean it up, clarify it, give some business perspective, a lot of counsel, a lot of great perspective from others and mentors along the way. So it's all developing.
How cool. But now the $100,000 that you can put towards developing whatever your website, your programs, your publication, anything that you need to do to help Catholics who are in recovery.
Yeah, it's to be kept within kind of the confines of our business plan that we put together during the course of the accelerator, and then what was within the pitch. But yeah, what we're going to be doing with that is growing our team. This has started just me doing a lot of stuff, really, in everything. And along the way, I've gotten a lot of help, and we've got great partners. But growing our team a little bit to help further grow Catholic in Recovery groups. We've got new Catholic in Recovery meetings across the country happening, different parts of the country. We're going to have 6 Catholic in Recovery retreats next year. We're going to be publishing the Catholic in Recovery workbook next year, which will be a sacramental guide through the 12 steps. Whereas my book, The 12 Steps in the Sacraments, is more storytelling, my story. Yeah. This is more directed at here's what you can do to integrate the sacraments of the church into the 12 steps. And going to be a great solution and a great, really help advance our mission. And with that, we'll also have, we're looking at developing some kind of a digital platform or mobile app that will accompany the workbook, where with each of the 20 sections within the workbook, we'll have a video module where we'll be referring to the workbook, sharing testimony, how other people have worked through these parts of the steps with various different addictions. We see addiction as being, or defining addiction, not just alcoholism and drugs, but compulsive overeating, restricted eating, gambling, pornography and lust addiction, codependency, the family side of addiction. So hopefully a tool and something that can be useful for all.
Wow. If you'd like to talk with Scott, please call 888-318-7884. I am impressed on so many levels. First of all, I just want to say I'm really impressed with the Our Sunday Visitor people, that they do this, that they take seriously that it's hard to start a Catholic apostolate. This really is the age of the laity, where the laity is being encouraged, go out and do these things. And then, but not just saying, here's a donation, but saying, here's all this help that we're going to give you to make sure that this apostolate has legs.
Absolutely. So, you just throw money at something, and that's just gonna it can either magnify solutions or it can also magnify problems.
Yeah.
But with the assistance and the support and the mentorship, and not only that, but also the community of the other semifinalists, the other people who are doing similar things. Yeah, it's nice because it can be a kind of a lonely space, starting something from nothing with a vision and, just kind of feeling like, along the way things are happening, but get impatient, and it can also feel very lonely. And so just being connected with others who are in that same process, doing great things, whatever that looks like, that was in itself, the community building aspect of it was awesome too.
888-318-7884, our number. Scott Wieman is our guest. He's the founder of Catholic in Recovery, which you can find at catholicinrecovery.com. I always lose my confidence right at the end there of that. CatholicInRecovery.com. Plus, I actually put an S on it. You noticed that. Right?
Everyone does that.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Okay. The 12 Steps and the Sacraments is Scott's book, A Journey Through Recovery. And if you are in that situation or know someone who is and you'd like some help, look, it's everywhere. We are an addictive society, really. And it's something that too many people continue to suffer with because of just the shame of asking for help. But there's no reason to be ashamed. Jesus loves each of us and wants us to get that help. So give a call if you'd like, 888-318-7884.
Yeah, I look forward to being on for this hour every couple of months when it comes around, because I love the calls that we get, the unpredictable nature of what people are dealing with, and knowing that, and also what that does is when you call in and you share what you're going through or a challenge, and you don't have to identify yourself by name, you can keep yourself anonymous, but that also, that helps other listeners know that they're not alone. And so, you're calling, sharing about your own experience in addiction and recovery with those, challenges with a family member, whatever that might be, questions specific to recovery or how to integrate the sacraments into the 12 steps. Just by picking up the phone and calling helps other people.
Scott, why have we not partnered with you? Why haven't we been like, Scott, why don't you make a podcast with us or something? What's wrong with us? Have we tried, and you said no, or we didn't try?
No, we haven't tried. Maybe there's a possibility there. See, you make these these proclamations on air, though.
Yeah. Then we got to do it.
Talk to someone first about that.
You mean someone who has a decision-making authority? That's how I get decisions made around here. I talk about it on the air, and then they got to do it. But
let's do it.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
I just started a new podcast. Everybody in there. I just started a new podcast with Scott Wieman. 888-318-7884, the number 888-318-7884. I do want to go to callers, and I don't want to make callers wait, but I feel like there might be some people who are going, what is Catholic in Recovery? Yeah. And maybe you could just give them the basic pitch.
Yeah, so Catholic in Recovery is a blending that blends the wisdom of 12-step spirituality with the sacramental life of the Catholic Church. And so as the 12 steps, which started in Alcoholics Anonymous, the 1930s, and has branched into many other areas of addiction, supports and helps people across the world on a daily basis. What was once deemed alcoholism and addiction, alcoholism largely at first, deemed a chronic illness, by one person sharing experience, strength, and hope with another, they found that there was a solution to this, but that the solution required fellowship and required connection with each other. And so, and in the formation of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps, there was great Catholic influence. Catholic clergy who had a great influence, personal relationships with the founders, and had a really great just impact in the development of this incredible social instrument, the 12 Steps. And over time, other groups have grown. Narcotics Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Sex Addicts Anonymous, you name it. There's a 12-step group for it. And in many ways too, there has become the secularization of the group. So whereas the solution in the 12 steps is very spiritual in nature and refers to God. And this is a question that people have as they're coming into groups, oftentimes with very differing degrees of religious background. Some are often very, especially if they've been through the darkness of addiction, angry at God, don't want a relationship with anything that's associated with God. Others come in with a background of faith and you seek to lean into that. But it's funny how how, in many 12-step groups, some, like half the people think that it's too Christian in nature, and half the people think that it's not Christian enough.
Right.
So one who might, show up to a 12-step group might feel some anti-Catholic sentiment in some places, whereas, now, again, it's supposed to be open, and I don't disparage 12-step groups. This is just, I speak of the church in the same way, that there's room for improvement, and 12-step groups have helped save my life, and there is this kind of closed-off nature, unwelcomeness for us to name our higher power by name in some way. So becomes challenging for some people. When I showed up in an AA meeting 10 years ago, the people there helped save my life one day at a time, and I'm forever indebted to them. They continue to help save my life.
Right.
And that helped me get into the church. Now, so Catholic in Recovery blends the spiritual wisdom of the 12 steps with the church. We provide Catholic in Recovery groups and fellowships, which we now have about 40 plus around the country in 12 different states. And we also have virtual meetings. So in a Catholic in Recovery meeting, much like in a 12-step meeting, it's just where people can share experience, strength, and hope. Although ours is rooted in the sacraments, we refer to Scripture from the daily or upcoming Sunday Mass readings and tie that with liturgical themes, recovery principles, and it's a place where people can just share openly, hear from others, and connect to the solution.
888-318-7884. I want to go to Anonymous in Pennsylvania, listening to EWTN on Channel 130, Sirius XM Satellite Radio. Anonymous, please go ahead with your question for Scott Weeman.
The 12 steps with the church. We provide Catholic and Recovery groups and fellowships.
That's okay. It's just going on. He'll get it in a second. It's just looping around because he's listening on the radio.
Virtual meetings, so
he'll say hi in about 1 second. Ready? Go.
12-step meeting. It's just
no, I thought he was going to say hi by now. He will. He's coming around. He's got an important question, so we got to let him. Anonymous in Pennsylvania. Say hello to us. Say hello to us. No? All right, well, this is fun. Tell me when he says hello, and we'll he or she? Okay, well, tell me when she says hello. But we're particularly patient today because hi, Anonymous, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Really good. Go ahead with your question for Scott.
Well, I had just turned on the radio to hear this program tonight.
Okay.
I've been struggling myself. I have been to various recoveries for alcoholism, gambling, overeating. It's just an impulse that I feel like I can't beat. So it was successful for about 1.5 years, and then COVID came, and I just felt I started drinking again, and I'm just so desperate. And it's so funny. I just started yesterday praying really hard. Just give me a solution. So when I heard you on the air tonight, I just had a call.
Well, thank you for
calling. I've never heard of Catholic Connection. I've never heard of this before. So I just wanted to find out. Hopefully my call will help other people, because I don't really have much else to say other than I know I need you.
Yeah, Anonymous, thank you for calling. Can you share a little bit about when you came to that point of realizing that you need help and that the help needs to involve other people?
Well, my personality changed. I guess, I've been a functional, I guess I would call it a functioning alcoholic. I can get everything done that I need to do, but I am a Catholic, and I know the whole time that it's not where my life should be. And when it finally got to the point where in the past, it was financially, because I was gambling too. But now it's like I feel spiritually empty. Like I just feel like it's not mattering. And it's not like I'm staggering around anything. I mean, I just drink just enough to get myself where I just don't care about anything. And that's where I seem to like it.
Yeah. Your problem and your solution sound like the same thing.
What does that mean?
It's what?
It sounds like your problem and your solution are the same thing.
Which is?
Which is that, you're resorting to alcohol and gambling and food as a means to escape the reality of the consequences that are caused by resorting to alcohol and gambling and food. And I get that because I was there. It's the cyclical nature of addiction, and it's why it makes no sense. It's completely insane from someone outside. It doesn't make any sense at all, and we just scratch our heads and think, why wouldn't this person just give it up? But addiction is a power that's cunning, baffling, and powerful, and also very patient. And so you mentioned, this isolation due to COVID and things happening. And first of all, Anonymous, you're going to find yourself into a Catholic in Recovery meeting very soon. In fact, tomorrow, Saturday, at noon Eastern Time, we have a general recovery meeting that happens virtually. You go to CatholicInRecovery.com. On the meetings tab, go to virtual meetings, and you'll find it. And there will be a host of people there who know exactly what you're going through, who have made several attempts. Many of them have stumbled themselves, taking years to get help and to get support and to feel like they've actually got something, under themselves where they can trust themselves and they can trust God in the process. But Anonymous, you're not alone. And I'm so grateful that you called to let other people know that they're not alone. And so anyone who is struggling with an addiction, whether it is alcohol or gambling or compulsive overeating or restricted eating or drugs or lust, you're not alone. And a lot of those things are really just different symptoms of the same spiritual malady, and that is distance and disconnect from God and from each other. And so the solution, although it can be hard and challenging because we often lose trust in God and each other, is that. It's resorting to Jesus Christ and putting your life in the hands of other people who have been in your shoes and know a solution out.
What do you think, Anonymous?
I think my heart is happy right now because I feel like the Holy Spirit is involved in this entire thing right now because I was praying for it. I wanted it to happen. I feel like I don't have the strength. I don't have the desire. I don't have the motivation. I know it's wrong. And I know there's other ways out, but nothing else makes me feel anything unless I'm doing that. So I guess, my prayer enough this morning was not as intense as I was like, oh my God, please, I wish this. It was like, okay, so if you want me to get over this, I can't even devote myself to total prayer. And so it's so strange, and I'm just so filled with hope and happiness right now, and so grateful of your ministry.
Well, thank you for calling. I'm grateful to hear you.
Oh, praise God. Praise God. And I'm going to have you give the information on the website and everything when we come back, because we have to take a quick break, but we'll go over it again.
Okay, and Anonymous, if you're still on the line, stay and leave your address, your mailing address with the people on the back end, and I'll mail a copy of my book to you. We'll get that out to you as soon as possible.
Anonymous, you hang on. We got to take a break. Thomas is going to speak with you. I do want to give out the number again because others may call. You're very welcome to call, whether you're Catholic or not. If this, as I think Anonymous said, this is the first time listening to Catholic radio. And if that's the case, if this is your first time and you'd like to call, you're welcome. 888-318-7884. But I got to take that break, and we'll come back and give the information out again and take more calls for Scott Wieman, the founder of Catholic in Recovery, the award-winning Catholic ministry. 888-318-7884.
Miss a show? Make sure to catch up by downloading the podcast, available online at Catholic.com.
The Aquinas Writing Advantage program is part of Homeschool Connections' set of online courses for your Catholic homeschool. Homeschool Connections' website is homeschoolconnections.com.
Underwriting for Catholic Answers Live is provided by Real Estate for Life. Real Estate for Life connects homebuyers and sellers to real estate agents while supporting pro-life organizations. On the web at realestateforlife.org.
We should pray because prayer is conversation with God, and conversation is the only way to build a relationship. We need that relationship with God. We should pray and talk with God about what's on our hearts, what's on our minds, what's active in our lives, the joys we have. We should share all of these with God. Prayer is conversation, and conversation is the only way to build a relationship with God. It's the most important relationship. All of our other relationships depend on this one.
Scott Wieman is our guest. I'll just remind you, Scott's book is called The 12 Steps and the Sacraments, A Catholic Journey Through Recovery. And you hear his story in there, and you get the basics of how a Catholic approaches recovery with the help of the sacraments, not to deny any other help. Like, you wouldn't deny someone going to the hospital if they need to go to the hospital, or visiting the psychiatrist if they need to visit the psychiatrist, but the sacraments also have a power.
Yeah, we need a holistic approach to recovery.
And you can find out about Scott and the whole apostolate at CatholicInRecovery.com, CatholicInRecovery.com. But you want to give out a little more information about how people can go to meetings, because you said that to our anonymous caller, but maybe there's other people like, Scott, I need a meeting.
Yeah. So we've got Catholic in Recovery meetings around the country in different places. Go to CatholicInRecovery.com. You'll find a meeting directory, which is a directory of our in-person meetings that happen, most of them on a weekly basis. We've recently started a meeting in North Canton, Ohio, a meeting in Star of the Sea in Virginia Beach, Virginia, a group in the middle of New Jersey, many others that we're going to be starting also in the new year. Panama City, Florida, in Rochester, Minnesota, many. It's been awesome to see. But also, you may not live near an existing meeting or fellowship or Catholic in Recovery group. You can certainly also inquire about getting a group started. We'd be happy to walk you through the process of getting a group started in your local community. Or you also have the option of joining us in a virtual meeting. And we have about 20 virtual meetings that happen each week. Many of them general recovery meetings, people with a variety of addictions, compulsions, and unhealthy attachments. Also, groups for family members impacted by a loved one's addiction. We have groups for men recovering from lust addiction, pornography addiction. Also a group on Tuesday evenings for spouses of lust addicts, because there is a great pain and trauma associated with betrayal for those who are impacted by a loved one's lust addiction. We have a group on Friday nights. It's happening right now, adult children of dysfunctional homes, for those who are impacted by the dysfunction of alcoholic parents. Those patterns or challenges often reveal themselves later in life. And a compulsive another meeting on Saturdays or Sundays that's dedicated to specific addiction types. This one for overeating, dysfunctional eating. So we've got all sorts of different meetings, some general, some specific in nature. Go to CatholicInRecovery.com and find a meeting that works for you and get connected. It's been awesome to see people start their recovery through virtual meetings, maintain their recovery, get integrated into other local 12-step groups. And we don't claim to be a substitute for secular 12-step groups, but rather supplemental to, and hopefully invigorating one's faith in the church and also their participation in the recovery community at large.
CatholicInRecovery.com, and soon the new Catholic in Recovery podcast brought to you by Catholic Answers, which I invented like 5 minutes ago. Our number is 888-318-7884. I got to share some bad news with you, Scott. Every call that we've tried to answer the phone on in the last few minutes, it has not worked. I don't know what's going on with the phones. I don't want to discourage anyone from calling. Give it a try. But since we had that anonymous caller, that was the last call, for some reason, the phone's just hanging up on everybody when we pick up the line. So this happens with Father Hugh sometimes, and I don't like to assign a demonic, answer to everything, but it is always demons. That's a rule that I have. It's always demons, and they don't like you, Scott, and they don't want you to get the.
You're right.
But is it guys in the booth? Is it anything we've done or anything we're doing, or is it?
My people are telling me that it's being figured out.
It's being figured out? Okay, so 888-318-7884, the number. Scott started this apostolate. How many years have you been doing this? How many years have you?
Started Catholic in Recovery about 6 years ago.
Catholic in Recovery about 6 years ago. Started the podcast 15 minutes ago. Yep. And you can get his book, The 12 Steps and the Sacraments, A Catholic Journey Through Recovery, wherever good books are sold. And it's got a nice endorsement from our own bishop here in San Diego, Bishop Robert McElroy. But I think any bishop in the world who's worth his salt would endorse this book. I hope that that's the case. Because... It strikes me that the church has, the original flourishing of the church is because Catholics went out into the world, Christian people went out into the world bringing the healing of Jesus Christ. Like, we forget about the healing ministry of Jesus himself and of the apostles. And it does seem to me that the modern world needs that healing ministry again. We got to get going again with we're doing the sacraments, we're doing the teaching. We've got our Catholic schools. Where is our Catholic healing in the manner of the apostles and the manner of Jesus?
Yeah, that's a good. Why do you think that is? Why do you think we've lost that?
I think we've turned it over to professionals in a certain way. We were like, we've got the American Medical Association now. And so with the professionalization of medicine, we lost our place and we forgot, we're supposed to do direct healing though. Like, we're supposed to still be healing people.
Yeah, it's interesting because we all look through the lens of the world through different perspectives. Whether we look at the world through different lenses, and a doctor will look through the world through a medical lens, and it's important that we have different people looking at the world from different lenses. And I think that too oftentimes we don't look at the world from the spiritual lens enough. And by the spiritual lens, I also mean like what is it? What is our relationship as two humans existing together in life, and what is the importance of our need for each other, and different things like that. It can get very philosophical in a lot of ways, but I think yes, you're absolutely right that too often we've left it to people who are not perhaps viewing some of the challenges that we're having through a spiritual lens. And even in some ways, I'm not going to say that. I see this happening, throughout the world in different, hence the secularization of modern 12-step recovery groups.
Yeah.
And so yes, having a Catholic influence there where we can see the world through not just challenges as they exist, emotional or physical, but also the spiritual as well.
Hey, the phones seem to be working. So for those who had trouble before, I'm sorry, but the lines are open. Well, there's one line open right now, and we're going to get to everybody who's on the line. Guadalupe in Missouri, we're going to get to you first when we come back.
Here's a question. Is it really possible to be friends with someone who died 2,000 years ago? Maybe the problem is that we've grown way too comfortable with the story of Jesus. Nice man, right? Taught us to love one another, said not to judge people. We celebrate his birthday every year. It's time to put away this small, safe version of Jesus, says Cy Kellett. Nobody that bland could have transformed the world. In A Teacher of Strange Things, Cy presents Jesus Christ undiluted by sentiment, with all his radical words and deeds uncensored. Do you know someone, your son or daughter perhaps, or maybe your mom or dad, who needs the friendship of Jesus Christ? Do you? Order your copy of A Teacher of Strange Things by visiting shop.catholic.com today or asking for it at a good Catholic bookstore near you. Have you enrolled in the Catholic Answers School of Apologetics? Let me ask you a more important question. Do you believe as a Catholic that you have an obligation to share the Catholic faith? In fact, the Church has answered this question, and the answer is that all confirmed Catholics are obliged to share the faith. It's actually in canon law. Catholic Answers is here to help you fulfill that obligation. Our School of Apologetics courses will equip you to help all the people you come in contact with understand what the Church teaches and why. A great place to start is with all the Catholics in your life. Learn the art of apologetics from the best of the best and start sharing the gospel today. Visit schoolofapologetics.com. That's schoolofapologetics.com.
Did you know you can access Catholic Answers Live right from your phone or other mobile device? Download the Catholic Answers Live app today. The Catholic Answers Live app, available now on iOS and Android.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. I love it when we have Scott Wieman on. I love it when we have Rose Sweet on, but now Rose Sweet and then Scott Wieman. That's a pretty good Friday. But Scott's got has started an apostolate called Catholic in Recovery. It's growing all around the world, in more and more places. Will you have in, say, Spanish-speaking countries and?
Yes, actually, we are in works and getting a group started in Ensenada, Mexico, just south of the border.
Okay.
And thus also getting resources translated into Spanish. It's really important that people do recovery and this kind of stuff in their primary language. It can be challenging, especially when being very vulnerable and being honest. It can be challenging when you have to make those translations.
Yeah, and then maybe people will pick it up in other languages as well, but you're going to have to rely on them to do that. And we'll let God, I'm getting ahead of myself, we'll let God handle that. But Guadalupe in St. Joseph, Missouri, listening on 106.9 FM. We're happy to have you, Guadalupe. Go ahead with your question for Scott Wieman.
Well, yes, good evening, and it's such a pleasure, such a joy to know that 12-step program is with the Catholic twist or what have you. I am a recovering sugar addict, a refined sugar addict. It's a real deal. This is my 8th year. But initially, I went to Overeaters Anonymous, and unfortunately, it was the last meeting here in St. Joseph. Nonetheless, I picked up a sponsor, and my recovery was based on the sponsor lived 30 miles away, but my recovery was based on simply 2 daily phone calls, praying the Serenity Prayer, sharing our experience about sweets, overeating, and so forth. I'm not an overeater. Matter of fact, I'm trim, so they couldn't figure out why I would, showed up at So anyway, and what my recovery amounts to, basically was Serenity Prayer, and sharing about it, but the Serenity Prayer at the beginning of the phone call, and the Serenity and the Lord's Prayer at the end of the phone call. It's miraculous. I fought this thing for many years. I was serious. When you wake up in the morning, you got M&M stuck to you, you have a serious problem.
I want to just say congratulations on your 8 years in recovery. And that's magnificent. And did you want to ask Scott something, or did you just want to share about the sugar addiction?
Yeah, I wanted to share about that because I was so captivated, by the fact that I was, in a recovery state, that I called up the central office in New York for AA and asked us, are there any programs available for strictly sugars? And they said, well, the Aussies, Australians tried it in '76, but they didn't do nothing with it. I said, I'm interested.
All right.
So anyway, in starting something, so I registered it, and it's Sugar Hostage Anonymous since Sugar Anonymous. There's the name's already taken up by a commercial outfit.
I just want to ask Scott if he's experienced this, Guadalupe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for calling and sharing, and it's amazing. Things can get very specific as far as what we can get attached to in life, and many of those things, like sugar, also have a biological hold on us.
Right. Yeah.
Alcohol, very similarly, where alcohol filled with sugar. So when an alcoholic stops drinking, their body is used to all this sugar, hence part of the some of the physical reaction that can happen if someone's been drinking for a long time and then just stops cold turkey.
Right.
So yes, our bodies adapt to it, and hence we understand addiction as including tolerance, and the body builds some kind of a immunity to it in some way. So it requires more to achieve the same result. That's what tolerance is. That's a part of addiction, and yes, it can be as specific as something like sugar. And I really appreciate too. He mentioned the difference between his challenge and those who might be a compulsive overeater. Whereas there are some nuanced differences in the way that we approach a day or our recovery. Whereas, as mentioned, here's what I heard: 2 calls a day, and the Serenity Prayer.
Yeah.
Pray the Serenity Prayer probably multiple times a day. When I first got sober, it was hundreds of times a day. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I had to repeat that all day long for the first couple of days and weeks, and also connecting with other people. So his solution, he basically just laid it out as we did before the break: connection with God and connection with others. Pray the Serenity Prayer, surrender, most things in life which we cannot change, but also recognize there are a few things that we can change.
Yeah.
What that boils down to is oftentimes we can change either our attitude or our sobriety date, which means that we have the choice to pick up a drink or a sugar or a drug or lust or engage in behavior that is otherwise problematic. But yeah, thanks for laying out the solution. You're right, though. And I mentioned, too, there is a 12-step group for nearly everything.
Yeah.
Clutterers Anonymous, Emotions Anonymous. There are, there get to be some nuance to each of them. But the solution is pretty much the same.
But what's fascinating to me is that this, you think about that anonymous, the second word being anonymous, and the first word, like Alcoholics invented this, Alcoholics Anonymous, but you find that human problems and obsessions and addictions and these things that we do that we hide from other people, or the solution is not different just because the substance is different, or because it might not even be a substance. It might just be pornography, which is not a substance. It's just images, But the solution that you talk about God and other people, It's not different.
No, the solution is for the most part pretty similar. There are some nuanced differences, and so someone who is in recovery from compulsive overeating will oftentimes do some things, plan their meals ahead of time in each day, discuss that meal plan with another person. So that's something that would be nuanced difference than someone as an alcoholic, but similarly, and part of the difference there is, as Sister Margaret mentioned to me and has shared with me, that as a compulsive overeater, I've got to take the tiger out of its cage 3 times a day, Scott. Yeah. As an alcoholic, you don't touch the stuff. So actually, the way that we even define our recovery as an alcoholic, I define my recovery as we say I'm sober. But and in Overeaters Anonymous or other groups like that, you might say you're abstinent. But actually, the reverse should be true. I am abstinent from drugs and alcohol. I don't touch it. And she is sober because she has to she doesn't abstain. She's got to eat, but has to do that in a very sober way. And so, and when we say sobriety, there's kind of a difference. It implies that there's some spiritual solution that's taking place, not just abstinence. And there can be such a thing as being a dry drunk, and that can exist in all sorts of different addiction types, is where you're not engaging in the behavior, but you're also not doing anything spiritual or anything to bring yourself health or wellness, as an alternative. Yeah.
Guadalupe, again, thank you very much for the call. There's lots of folks on the call, on the line, and I'm sorry that I've kept folks waiting. Let's go to Texas. And this is Celeste, who's listening on the Guadalupe Radio Network. Celeste, glad to have you. Go ahead with your question.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're having this program. It is so apropos to my situation right now.
Oh, I'm glad.
So my son is in a detox unit right now. And he went voluntarily. He doesn't want to be on alcohol, but he says he prays to God, and God just doesn't answer him for what bothers him. So he uses marijuana and alcohol to treat himself, and he's terribly addicted. And I just don't know what to say to him when he says God's not listening. The only thing I know to say is you're just not getting the answer you want. You want him to fix it. You have to fix it.
Scott,
I don't know what else to say to him.
What do you say to Celeste?
Yeah, thanks for calling, Celeste, and sharing your experience. And you're not alone. And it's the challenge of seeing a child go through the pain and the darkness of addiction. I don't know it firsthand, but I know I've had conversations like this with enough people to know that the pain is immense. And so, God bless you, Celeste. There is, the addiction, the place that we put ourselves in, the people that we put ourselves around, the regular kind of thoughts that we have in our head, which just get deeper and deeper into despair and self-pity and depression. Really, can certainly fuel our understanding of who God is. Part of the steps, as we get into the steps, the second step is coming to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity, which that also asks the question of who do we understand God to be? And so that, also people in recovery, people who are struggling with addiction often feel abandoned. And they often feel abandoned by God, they feel abandoned by their loved ones, their friends, their family members. And it can be hard as a family member not to kind of jump on the roller coaster with them as this form of abandonment. They're going to feel abandoned. They're going to feel abandoned, regardless. It's almost impossible to kind of meet their needs and feel there. I've been there. I still struggle with this knee-jerk thought of I'm going to be abandoned. Now I've got some good spiritual practices in place to help me overcome that when it comes. But it's really just staying firm and just letting him know that you're here. You can be the presence of God, the face of God in his life, and it doesn't have to be you providing the solution. God's going to provide a solution. Unfortunately, as a family member of an addict, you did not cause this. You can't control it, and you can't cure it. But you can be a very stable presence in one's life, of course, not giving in to knee-jerk demands and needs. And addicts do a really great job of manipulating and getting what they want, getting other people to do for them what they can do for themselves. And so oftentimes the solution, as it relates to a family member, is often just giving them the permission to do things themselves. And of course, that means letting go of control, and that's a really scary thing for a family member to do, because control means at least I've got, at least I know where they are, or, I can keep them somewhat. But oftentimes our means or our attempts to control our loved ones can often just prevent them from realizing the solution themselves. Oftentimes, the realization of one's natural consequences is one of the greatest things that we can do for another person.
Celeste, I want to come back to you. We're going to take a break in just a second, but do you have any response to what Scott just had to say?
No, thank you very much. Maybe when you come back, you can comment just on he gets discharged on Monday. I just don't know how he's going to survive outside of a controlled environment.
Well, is there a meeting moms can go to?
Oh, yeah. Yes. We've got meetings throughout the week. Wednesdays and Fridays, family members impacted by a loved one's addiction. There are plenty of moms in that group. The group is oftentimes led by a mother. And, you know, what people find in those groups, family and friends groups, you can go to CatholicInRecovery.com to find them, is you'll find people who know exactly where they've been. And despite whether their loved ones get sober or not, they can live a life that is happy, joyous, and free. Now, that might be a hard thing to even imagine at this point right now. But I would also say, Celeste, that you're not responsible for the outcomes when your son gets out. You know, you're not in control.
Celeste, I'm going to let it stay there, and I'll just give the website again if you would like to take a look, CatholicInRecovery.com. We do have to take a quick break. Lots more folks on the line, and we were going to try to get to everybody with our guest, Scott Wieman, the author of The 12 Steps and the Sacraments and the founder of Catholic in Recovery. More right after this on Catholic Answers Live.
There's only one Catholic Answers Live.
We have a big problem. Our culture is dying, and souls are in danger of being lost. The answer is conversion to Jesus Christ in His church. St. Paul Street Evangelization is a Catholic organization, and we have hundreds of teams spreading the good news throughout the country. But we need your help. The harvest is great, but the laborers are few. Find out more and get involved today at streetevangelization.com. That's streetevangelization.com.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
I told him about the woman who came to me and said her two children hadn't spoken to each other for 2 years. Their grandma died, and she was very wealthy. She left half to each one. She said they're arguing over a commode. She said it's inlaid. Can you imagine being in hell and somebody saying to you, "What are you here for?"
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Welcome back to Catholic Answers Live. Happy to be on the air with my new podcast partner.
Are you going to host the show, by the way?
Am I hosting the show? Yeah, I think I should host the show.
Okay, good.
But my view is I should host all the shows.
Yeah.
Like, I should just get to host everything. Like, I think I could do better than that, Anderson Cooper. 888. I've been obsessed with Anderson Cooper this week, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know why he keeps coming up, so...
Can we follow up on the discussion of family?
Oh yeah, before we go to another call. Sure, go ahead.
We were just kind of chatting, Si and I, on the break, and you know, this is a really, really hard and nuanced conversation to have, especially over the airways and where there's little back and forth dialogue about the certain situation. It's really important to be able to connect with other people that know your circumstances, that know your situation, and you know, a lot of it, the family challenges of addiction comes around acceptance. You know, are we able to accept God's will for us? And that might not be a very pretty thing. And so, you know, even one thing that I've heard some family members share that's been helpful, and you might not even imagine being able to do this, but going to the worst case scenario, imagining what's the worst case scenario that could happen to my loved one. That might be death, that might be suicide, that might be, you know, and then in imagining that and coming to accept that in some ways. How could, you know, you don't have to accept it, you don't have to, certainly acceptance and approval are far from the same thing. But could I accept that? Now, this is a challenging exercise to do on one's own as well, hence we need community. But, you know, that then we can kind of work backwards from there and really recognizing that regardless if I can accept it or not, I'm not in control. And so the biggest thing that I can do, the thing that I have control over are the boundaries that I put around myself and getting help for myself really as a family member.
Again, I want to say thanks to Celeste for that call. We've got quite a few folks on the line, so I want to get to them. And I always feel, I'll just say this now, I always feel so grateful when we do this, Scott, because you realize that addiction and the consequences of addiction are in virtually every family, virtually every home. And we just don't spend enough time talking. I'm very glad that you're here and that you come in, and I thank you for doing it. Robert in Cincinnati, listening on Sacred Heart Radio, go ahead with your question for Scott Weeman.
Okay. When I think of the higher power as God, I don't think of it as being so limited. And so I'm curious about your organization. Alcoholics in the courts, in rehabilitation and Alcoholics Anonymous, are expected to want to give up alcohol for the rest of their life completely. And so there is a need to take care of these people and for a society to feel safe from them. I was wondering about your organization more. The reason it's so hard for an alcoholic to want to do that is that alcoholism is a disease. They need the alcohol to stay alive. And when they get the alcohol, they can really deteriorate and become demented. The dementia will make it impossible for them to know their situation. So I don't see that this bottom line is going to be helpful altogether.
Would you, Robert, it sounds like, what you were wondering, but the impression I'm getting is you would like to see some kind of recovery that included drinking, and not a complete abstinence from alcohol. Am I going in the right direction, Robert?
Yes. For example, a locality may give out methadone to anyone just to keep somebody alive. Right. That's not the attitude toward alcohol.
Scott?
Yeah, I think that I've got some, I think I disagree in the way that I don't think that alcohol is necessary to keep an alcoholic alive. But I think an alcohol, and don't get me wrong, there's some, it can be, the body can create such physical need for it that getting off of it requires hospitalization in many times, because otherwise the body will go into convulsions and such. So if, an alcoholic who's been drinking for a long time ought to seek medical help in detoxing. Now, that's not the case for everybody, but then once detox, there's no need for the ongoing need. And I think that we're talking about different solutions, two different types of solutions. There are, I think, groups that exist that suggest or promote or help you control your drinking. I don't know anyone that's ever found success in that. I am the last person to talk to about moderating drinking, because for me, one drink is too many and 1,000 is not enough. So I could, if I went and had a drink this afternoon or after the show, I could maybe keep it under wraps today, but tomorrow I'll be craving it, and then the next day I'll be craving it, and it creates it kind of kickstarts in me this mental obsession.
Right.
And that mental obsession, I am so grateful to be free of. Now, the question is, do I need to quit drinking my entire life? I have not quit drinking my entire life. I just today made the decision that I'm not going to take a drink today. And so, but that, that notion that I'm going to have to quit drinking forever was something that got in the way of me. Well, I don't know if I was in a place where I was ready. I was just using it as a rationalization to not take action and to continue my bad behavior. But I continued to have this idea in my mind when I was in my early 20s, as problems were beginning to start, in that I need to have. I'm going to drink champagne at my wedding. So it's pointless for me not to give up drinking now. If I can't imagine having a wedding where I don't drink any champagne. It was this really remote, small little thing that I had in my mind that, no, there's no way I could ever not drink for the rest of my life.
It's almost like an excuse to hold on. Is it, or am I misinterpreting?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. I mean, we can manipulate, like I said, addicts, alcoholics can manipulate others really well. We also do a really good job of manipulating ourselves from the truth. Yeah. And so we're always holding on to something, and that can be something down the road. It can also be seasonal. There might be someone who's asking themselves right now, can I not drink today? There's probably someone listening right now that's saying, I'm on my way to the liquor store, or my plans for the evening include drinking, as it does every night. Could I even not drink today? And then thinking, wait a second, Christmas is around the corner, Thanksgiving's around the corner. These are holidays where I'm going to need to drink. There's going to be drinking around. I can't even imagine myself not drinking at Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's. And so, this creates this We just kind of make an excuse. You're right. We build rationalization. There's always the next thing or the next thing or the next thing. We can always justify.
But why would I quit drinking before the holidays when the holidays are all about drinking?
Exactly.
And then after the holidays, it might be some other thing.
Yeah, like Super Bowl's coming up.
Yeah, Super Bowl's coming up, and summer vacation. I got to have. Yeah.
Today, the best time to take action today. The best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago. Best time to plant a tree.
Yeah.
Today.
Because I didn't do it 20 years ago.
No.
Robert, thank you so much. I do appreciate the call. I'm going to try to get to everybody. Well, and if you're on the line, please don't go anywhere. We're going to try our best to get to everyone. Anonymous in New Jersey, listening on the Alexa. Go ahead, Anonymous, with your question.
Hi, I'm a compulsive overeater and binger and have Al-Anon issues, a husband alcoholic, daughter drug addict. And about a year ago, I was listening to Catholic Answers, and I heard 12 steps, Catholic, and free book. So, I immediately dialed in, and I thought, well, I'll form a question here, but I get a free book out of this. So I started going on the Zoom meetings, and it's the first time I never had abstinence in consecutive manner in any way. And for the whole last year, I have 1 year of abstinence.
Praise
no
God.
No sugar, flour, or wheat.
Oh.
In the last year. Yeah, and it's such a blessing because in my regular secular meetings, it was just always missing my Catholic faith, my higher powers, Jesus, and the Catholic faith and the sacraments, and that's not welcome in the meeting. So this is an answer to prayers. But I wanted to ask, I heard you say that you have retreats, and I was wondering if you could give more information about the retreats.
But we got no free books today, so you still want an answer, right?
Oh, darn. Okay, I still have my book from last year.
All right, go ahead. Scott.
Yeah, well, thank you for calling Anonymous, and thank you for sharing what you found, the fruits of what you found by showing up at Catholic in Recovery. It's a gift to see our community grow, and it will grow after the show, too, which is a gift, and really grateful for that. The retreats, we had our first retreat this past summer in Wichita, the Spiritual Life Center, which was beautiful, the dead center of the country, about half the people from Kansas, half the people from outside of Kansas, many people who had been attending virtual meetings, as the anonymous caller mentioned, and had seen each other virtually but not face-to-face ever before, and others who just had never heard of Catholic in Recovery before, but it was promoted locally and found that they were called to be there. And we found many people who had been away from the church for quite some time, coming back, some needing to just get the first steps started in recovery, getting a couple of days, and lovely. So we, due to the success of that, we're looking to have 6 different retreats next year. Different retreats around the country, in different parts of the country. We do have a date locked in for the first retreat. It's going to be a women's retreat at the Sacred Heart Retreat Center in New Jersey. And that's the weekend of February 25th, 26th, and 27th. So anyone listening, save the date. We'll have more information on our website about retreats and upcoming events, if just saving the date. We're going to have another retreat in Wichita back there again next November, and hope to have a retreat in the South, a retreat in the Ohio area, one here in Southern California, perhaps one up near in Oregon, and we may have some one-day events, some weekend-long retreats. This retreat up in New Jersey, the women's retreat, will be a weekend-long event, a retreat. We'll have Catholic in Recovery meetings, access to the sacraments, hours of reconciliation and adoration, Mass, spiritual talks, testimonies, and really just leaving on fire for the what God can do for us. So thank you, Anonymous, for calling and sharing the good news.
Can I just ask you a quick question, Anonymous? You attend meetings, but do you do it virtually? If you don't have to answer this if you don't want, I just want to know if you would tell people what the virtual experience is like if you've had that.
Well, it's really great because you're right there on the computer looking at everybody, but what's really amazing is that I told my pastor about it, and he looked into it. He put it on the website, and there's a newly formed in-person Catholic in Recovery meeting right here in New Jersey now.
Branchville, New Jersey.
First one, I think.
Oh,
yes, Branchville, New Jersey. And it's amazing. Yeah, so many healings and so many people driving, like an hour. They're like, this is what I've been looking for. And to meet in person is a real blessing, too. But I get as much out of Zoom as I do in person.
Wonderful. Anonymous, thank you so much for that call. I'm glad you got the free book, but I'm even more glad that you're going to those meetings and you have that a full year behind you. God bless you.
Awesome.
I know there are people who are listening are thinking, I can have that full year myself. And if you'd like help, CatholicInRecovery.com is a place to go. If you'd like to read the book, it's called The 12 Steps and the Sacraments, A Journey Through Recovery. Our guest is Scott Wieman. Scott, as always, thank you.
Thank you, Cy.
I always, even though we do these every 2 months now, I always end the show thinking, we've got to do this more because it's so inspiring to hear people's stories.
Check out the podcast.
Oh yeah, the new podcast from Catholic Answers, Catholic in Recovery, with Cy Kellett and special guest Scott Wieman in small little letters. See you next time, God willing, right here, Catholic Answers Live.